Beijing, August 13th, 2008. The Water Cube. And yes, that's actually what they called it. A building that looks like a stack of bubble wrap somebody scaled up to the size of a stadium, glowing blue at night like it's plugged into the mothership. Inside, 8 lanes of chlorinated water, and in lane 4, a 23-year-old from Baltimore who is, by this exact moment in his career, already being talked about the way people talk about weather events. Not a great swimmer, an occurrence. Something that happens to other competitors, like a flash flood you didn't check the forecast for. The gun goes off. 200 meters of butterfly, which, if you've never tried it, is the stroke swimming invented specifically to make you regret every decision that led you into a pool. Both arms out of the water at once, full body undulation, an event so brutal that by the final 50 meters most swimmers look less like athletes and more like men actively fighting off a mugging underwater. And somewhere around the 100-meter mark, something goes wrong that has nothing to do with the mugging part of the stroke. His goggles start filling with water. Not a little fog, not the mild annoyance every swimmer's dealt with at some point in a pool at the Y. Actual water, pooling behind the lenses, turning his entire field of vision into a blurry, useless smear of blue-white nothing. He is now swimming, an Olympic final, on the sport's biggest stage, essentially blind. Let's rewind for a second, because you need to understand what prepared actually looked like for this guy before we get back to the disaster in progress. Phelps's coach, Bob Bowman, had been drilling one specific, slightly insane habit into him for years by this point: race blind. On purpose, in practice. Bowman would have Phelps swim entire sets with blacked out goggles, or he'd literally step on the goggles before a swim to crack them, flood them, ruin them, just to force Phelps to complete the set without functioning eyesight. Picture being the guy training next to him at that pool. You're doing your normal laps, minding your business, and there's a coach 3 lanes over stomping on a pair of goggles like he's putting out a small campfire, then handing them back to a swimmer and saying, "All right, go again." If you didn't know the plan, you'd assume you'd wandered into some kind of extremely competitive hazing ritual. But that was the point. Bowman wasn't preparing Phelps to swim well when everything worked. Anyone can do that. He was preparing him for the one day everything wouldn't. That day is right now. Beijing, lane 4, the single biggest 200-meter butterfly final of his life so far, with a chase already underway for a medal count nobody in the sport's history had ever touched, and his eyes are functionally useless. No timeout in swimming, no corner to jog back to, no ref you can wave down. You're in the water. The water is exactly as unforgiving as it's always been, and the only information available to you is whatever your body already knows without needing to see anything. This is the exact scenario that should end a race, not hurt his time, genuinely end it. Disorientation at speed, underwater, in a straight lane surrounded by 7 other very large, very fast humans also thrashing through the same water. It's the kind of moment where panic is not just understandable, it's basically the default setting. Final stretch. Still no real vision. Still counting. Still relying entirely on a memorized rhythm built from hundreds of repetitions that had nothing to do with talent and everything to do with a coach who apparently really enjoyed stomping on expensive swim gear. He touches the wall, looks up at the board, or rather, looks toward the general blurry direction of the board because his goggles are still doing their impression of a fish tank nobody's cleaned in a month. And somehow, through all of that, the number next to his name is a new world record. Not just a win, a world record. Swum, in significant part, blind. Pull the goggles off afterward and there's actual water sloshing out of them, like he'd been swimming with a couple of shot glasses strapped to his face. Interviewers ask him what happened, half expecting some story about how he powered through on pure adrenaline and grit. And what he tells them, essentially, is, "My goggles filled up, so I just counted my strokes, like we practice." That's it. That's the whole reveal. Not a superhuman moment of transcendence, a guy calmly explaining that he executed a drill. Here's what that moment actually proves once you strip the drama back out of it. Habits aren't motivation you've stockpiled for later. They're a body that's been trained to function correctly without needing your mind to be fully online in the moment. Phelps didn't outthink the crisis. He didn't have some brilliant flash of problem solving under extreme pressure. He had a body that had rehearsed the exact failure state so many times that it simply executed, on autopilot, while the rest of him was busy being functionally blind. Willpower is what people reach for when they haven't built the habit yet. Phelps didn't need willpower in that pool. He needed a rehearsed pattern, and Bowman had already made sure he had one, years in advance, one ruined pair of goggles at a time. You do the opposite of this constantly, and it's almost comedic how predictable the pattern is. You wait until the moment actually arrives, the hard conversation, the deadline, the crisis, and then you try to summon willpower on the spot. like you're going to discover discipline for the first time under maximum pressure with zero prior rehearsal. That's the equivalent of never training blind and then being shocked when your goggles fill up mid-race. Of course you panic. Nobody drilled the failure state in advance. You're improvising a plan for the first time in front of an audience, in real time, with the stakes already maxed out, and wondering why it doesn't go smoothly. Phelps didn't get lucky that day. He got rehearsed. There's a difference, and it shows up exactly when you can least afford for it not to.